Hey everyone, Justin Holland here with the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. I am really excited about today's show. We've got some great guests that I'm introducing in just a minute, and I think it's going to be a good show. We're going to provide some value like we always do. We are starting something new on having a nonprofit join us every week, or try to have a nonprofit every week if their calendar works out for them to stop by and just promote their nonprofit for a little while. So you're going to learn about a great nonprofit here in the San Antonio area. But just as a reminder for everybody, the Mad Insurance Show, I just created this for everything insurance. We wanted to make sure we talk about what's going on in health insurance, which has been a lot of the topics over the past few months. Life insurance, retirement, social security analysis, employee benefits, how that relates to your health insurance. And then we've even talked about auto and home and commercial lines of business as well. So this show is everything insurance. So I can't thank you enough for joining us here on the radio. If you're scooting around San Antonio, listening to KTSA 550, or maybe you're watching us online, I need to plug our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ at Mad Insurance Show. So like and share, please. Well, I think I've got like 5 followers now, so I'm pretty excited about that. So we're really growing that following. I kid, it takes time, but I think our awareness is reaching everybody. So, and if we talk about something on the show and you got more questions, I'm going to give you our phone number. It's 210-880-5316. That's for Texas State Insurance Services. Texas State Insurance Services is going to focus more on your health insurance, individual health, health coverage options, Medicare, as well as employee benefits. The other brokerage and agency that we have here in town is Palmetto Life Group, and I created that separately for life insurance, long-term care insurance, as well as Social Security analysis on how that relates to your retirement, as well as your Medicare. And then we've recently added auto, home, and commercial lines. We've been having a lot of fun with that on being able to provide savings for that. So the phone number for Palmetto Life Group is 877-357-5316, or you can also go to our website at palmettolifegroup.com. So that is my quick intro for the show. I would like to just let you know who I've got on the show, and we're going to kick off the guests here in just a minute. The tail end segment is going to be with Kimberly and Daniel Rodriguez of Coverage to Care. They are a channel partner alignment that we've created here in the business. I'm real excited about that relationship and that partnership because there's a lot of chaos going on in our industry. And I think when you're in this industry, you want to align with the right people, like-minded. I think they're going to provide some good value and insight on all the articles and up-to-date stuff that I just pulled off the web over the weekend for some breaking news articles that we want to discuss. But before I have Kimberly and Daniel on the show and we do our segment, I first want to introduce Manny Diotte with the Ferrari Kid. I've known Manny for about 10 years now, or almost 10 years, and we're going to dive into the Ferrari Kid nonprofit. I want him to talk about his story, what they're doing for the kids here in San Antonio. I went and stopped by an event he had on Saturday morning, and it was just a breath of fresh air and a reminder on what little it can take, or actually a lot it can take in some cases, to just put a smile on these kids that just didn't get a fair shot. And we're going to talk about that right now, and we're going to kick things off with Manny Diotte. Manny, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I've got a few questions that I want to get dialed in on the Ferrari Kid, but you know what? First things first, let's talk about Manny. Let's talk about your story. I got a copy of your book. Totally forgot you had this book, Happiness is a Pair of Shorts, and you've got a great, compelling story. I want to get that out to everybody, and then we'll dive into the kids and the nonprofit with the Ferrari Kid.
Thanks, Justin, for having
Hey, good
me.
to see you.
In short, I was 7 years old when I was given 6 months to live. I spent about 3.5 years in the hospital. I've had 2 years of chemo and radiation treatment, 63 operations. So I was a really, really sick kid. And at that time, back in the 76, chemo, radiation, surgery, are like almost like today, the only three real options when you get cancer, the big C. So you propel that down the line. They were gonna do an amputation on my right leg because I get so many infections in his leg. And, my dad being in the Air Force, they flew me to see Michael Jackson's doctor in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And you gotta understand, I was born in the ghetto in Spain. I mean, we couldn't even, walk on the playground. My mom thought we'd step on needles, like, "Always keep your shoes on." So when I walk out of the airport, I see the most beautiful car I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even know what it was, but it was Magnum PI's red Ferrari. And I asked the guy, I said, "Hey, listen, is it okay if I take a picture next to your car?" And he goes, "Man, you have a smile on your face like you ate a banana sideways. I wish I had time to give you a ride." And that sunk in. And little did I know, 25 years later, I would be giving 400 plus rides a year to kids coping with cancer and autism and special needs and creating over the top red carpet events for them. So that's a little bit about how Manny got started and then turned into charity.
No, I love it, and the Ferrari is, definitely was in full effect on Saturday, afternoon when I was there at the event. Let's talk about the kid experience, let's dive in to what you guys do for these kids with the events that y'all have, and you've got multiple. I want the audience and the listeners to know, hey, what can we expect that these kids encounter with what you put on for 'em?
Yeah, so I'm known for creating an over the top Beverly Hills for a day style kind of day. So, for example, most recently we did a shopping spree at La Cantera where we had 8 girls and 8 Ferraris. They pulled up. They had no idea there'd be 150 people waiting for them, holding signs, cancer sucks, you're awesome, all that stuff. And then we greet them we host them, we have lunch with them. I have full bodyguards for each of them walking around as they're shopping till they drop. And it's so funny because the people in the mall are like, "Who are these kids, man? They got bodyguards. Like, check out these people." And so we just create these over the top red carpet. I have paparazzi following them around. People just think like Disney
It's pretty
arrived or
cool.
something. So sadly, from probably the age of 8 to 18, I have no childhood pictures. My mom threw them all away.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't because she was a mean mother, it was because I was this tiny. I was just a toothpick. I'm in high school, 63 pounds. My sister had to carry my backpack. I'm bald from chemotherapy. I've got scars all over my body, including my leg, which later turned into the happiness. I wouldn't even put shorts on in public. I had so
Yeah.
much surgery on my legs. So it wasn't she was mean, she just didn't want me to have those memories. So it's funny today, ironically, today I create memories moms take thousands of pictures of and video of, and we have these over the top events.
No, the kids are definitely, exuberant, I haven't seen anybody not have a good time, and you've done them at La Cantera, I think you've done them at Topgolf,
Mhm.
that automobile facility that we were at,
Yeah.
I mean, just first class operation. It's not just about the kids, though. Um, a lot of people that, you just kinda get on with your life and not realize it, but what these parents have to go through and
Yeah.
deal with for these children that they love and that I mean, that's the worst thing I can think of is how do you fix this? It's something that's out of their control. Let's talk about the families on what this does for their morale
Yeah.
on watching their kid having a good day.
Well, we include the entire family, as you know, Justin. We don't just take care of the kids. So if they have siblings and moms and dads, they're all welcome to come to the Ferrari Kid events. So in the beginning, I would do these events, and then I started a group called the Hope Tank, which is like the monthly support group where we would get together and go to Top Golf, and we golf with Batman and Spider Man and their favorite superheroes. And in the beginning, it's funny because I would tell the parents to leave your kids here with us for a couple hours and you guys need to go away because they're helicopter
Yeah.
parents. They're like, "Oh my God, my kid's sick." I'm like, "We got plenty of band-aids. Don't worry about it. We're gonna be okay." And the kids, because it's one thing for I'll be 58 here on the 20th of this month. It's okay for me to say, "Hey, I was bald in chemo." But when I'm talking to a 16-year-old girl who's bald, that there's just a disconnect there. We've gone through a similar experience, but it's better when she talks to a kid her age.
Yes.
So the kids would get together, exchange numbers, and I would tell the parents to go away. But as they were leaving, I would see them in the corner exchanging numbers too. And I'm like, wow, the parents need this as much as the kids. So now they all come to the Hope Tank event. And we
Cool.
do have a support system to encourage them because it's fun to be in a Ferrari for a day and have an over the top day. But the truth is, they still need love and support during this entire journey. So we make sure that we do that. So every month, whether we rent out movie theaters or go to main event or go to Pop Stroke or wherever they wanna go. We have a family reunion literally every single month.
Speaking of, I'll go on a little side note here, tangent. My wife and I went and finally saw another movie. It's been a while since saw a movie this weekend, and some of the trailers that were coming out, I was like, man, maybe the movies are coming back.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you'll have some good events coming up for the upcoming summer shows. Um, there's a somber weight and a sobering weight of what you're doing for these kids because sometimes you lose these kids
Mm,
and they pass on, and you got to keep on going on. Let's talk about that reality of that as well. I think we don't like. I'm a big advocate of life insurance and being prepared. And I can look at you today, Manny, and it's a good day to die. I've got my affairs in order. I
sure.
hope my family misses me a little bit, but at the same time, it has a rippling effect. And I know losing a child could be, I mean, you've seen it more than me. Let's talk about that reality and what that means to you.
Yeah, that's kind of the toughest part of my job. If I don't really think I have a job, I have fun every day, but um like the kids terminal, obviously we moved them to the front of the line, and we've buried 36 children in
Wow.
14 years. It's very difficult because these kids become my kids. I see them every single month. And sometimes like Caleb who passed away, I've experienced life with Caleb 50. I've had 50 events I've done with Caleb. Once they're for a kid, they're for a kid forever. At least 50 events. We've broken bread. I've been in his home with his parents. And so it is a very difficult time. And then a lot of times they're not prepared, like, where they need help with funeral costs. They need help with just basic things at a time when they're not thinking clearly. So it's and every year I almost say this every year, like I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, like some of my OGs, man, Victoria, Caleb, the two examples, because I spent so much time with them. When they passed away, it's just difficult, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna hang up I can't do another funeral, and then I feel blessed and called to do what I do. I feel like God equipped me to do what I do. So after I have that mental lapse for a little bit, because I'm suffering
Let's get
too,
back to work.
let's get back to work and create more epic experiences.
And you're giving these kids a shot just to have some joy and some happy and just get out of that
Yeah.
reality that they're having to face as well. I want to introduce myself again. This is the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. You're probably listening to us here on KTSA 550 or on our YouTube channel. We've been discussing right off the bat. We had our first nonprofit to join us on the show, Manny Diotte with the Ferrari Kid, and we've been talking a handful of his story, what they're doing for the children, some of the sober realities that they've got. But you can visit the Ferrari Kid at ferrarikid.com
Org. Yep.
org. So ferrarikid.org is where you can look it up. You Google that, you'll find it as
Yeah.
well. And just look up Manny and see what you can do to contribute and help them with the cause that they've got. And I tell you, man, please look at them online. You'll like what you see, and you can size up his organization very quickly on what they're doing for these kids, these really sick kids,
Yeah.
in a lot of cases. Growth, impact. What's next? You've got multiple events. You've got an annual gala. Is there anything new, anything growing news that we need to keep the audience up to date on, Manny?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're very unique in the way, Justin, that we always say, hey, time, treasure, talent, there's always room at our table. So sometimes people are blessed with treasure. They make a lot of money. It's easy for them. Every nonprofit needs that, right? Sometimes people need time. I'd like to come out and support you with time. We need that. Sometimes they have a talent, like you're a magician. So we have magic shows. Come use your talent. So I always say, time, treasure, talent, there's always kind of room at our table. And we're always trying to um what's going to be next, what's the next great experience, right? Like a few years ago we did a music video to Old Town Road,
That's right, I
and
remember
Billy
that.
Ray Cyrus ended up seeing the video and did a meet and greet with the kids, and his when he was in Fredericksburg he wanted to meet all the kids in the video.
How cool is
We're going
that?
to shoot a video again next month, and that was a great first video, but now we're going to have hair and makeup. We're going to have just like if you're a star. So for us, it's like it's rinse and repeat. We do have our signature events, the superhero top golf event, the shopping spree, and a main event Christmas party with Santa, but we're always looking for what can we do that's over the top so these kids feel validated and special and seen and heard, and the parents can take a deep breath. So, what next to me is we're always evolving and what we can do. Like, one of my life dreams is going to get a 757 and go to Ferrari Land in Spain, with a group of 300, 400
Oh,
kids.
wow.
So I mean, that's the big hairy
Yeah.
goal out there that we're still trying to work on. And through the grace of God, I've had a very successful gala this last November,
Good.
and it sells out every single year. And the donors get to be part of the kids' experience. That's so, which is, so if someone sponsors a child for the year, they can come play golf with them. They can be part of the shopping spree when they can miniature golf with them. They can play video games and boat with them. So that makes us a little unique too, that people can actually be part of the experience, and be with the kid.
I think that's important to know. A lot of people just say, you know what, I'm going to make this donation to this cause, and hopefully it goes well. But the fact that you're allowing those individuals that are making that donation to be a part of that, who knows what those people are going through, just in the fact that got them to go to that donation. They might get something more out of that than they get
They
in
almost
some
always
cases.
do. They
I,
come thinking that they're the boss, that that kid's getting this special day because I wrote the check, but they end up almost reversing at the end of that. Like, I thought I came in, I was going to make a difference for them. In fact, they ended up making difference
oh
for
yeah,
me. And they bring their families because some of us are really blessed. We live in nice places and we live in nice neighborhoods and we have access to things a lot of people don't. So sometimes family members will bring their kids to volunteer with us and be part of the experience, to realize that right now someone's at the hospital, some mom's at the hospital praying to God to switch their with their son or daughter, or when they come to the events, they see a child that's really suffering and they've never seen that before. Like they've never seen an amputation before, and they've never seen, a disease or that many stitches or scars. So it becomes part of families coming together to help out a cause. And then once they see it, they want to come back because what we do is
I
epic.
like that. It helps with those kids getting that humanity. I mean, I think everybody can agree we're in the social media era. I think a lot of the children just get disconnected on how tough things can really get,
Mm.
and be really comfortable, and that will absolutely sober up their
Oh, yeah,
attitude,
so I love the
hopefully.
families. I say, "Can I bring my kids?" "Yes, bring the kids," and then they wanna come back on their own to volunteer, which is beautiful.
Let's talk about how the community can help. I want to make sure that we bring up the website again. Is there a phone number? What are some of the ways that people can help? You just brought up a minute ago donations, but how can they reach you? Is there upcoming events that they can get motivated to support? Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to the movies. We're just talking about movies. We're gonna
Yeah,
go see the Minions in July. So,
very
yeah,
cool.
so we always kinda pick a funny movie in the summer and get 300, 400 seats for the families. So, if you think of, The Karate Kid, think of The Ferrari Kid. So if they go to theferrarikid.org, it lists, all the things that
Okay,
they
all
that we're
that's listed
doing.
on.
They can call me at 210-887-7285 if they have a talent or a gift. Um, we do a couple things. It takes $500 to sponsor a kid for the entire year, so it's not a lot of money, but they get to be part of that kid's experience. And then we have our annual gala every year. If people wanted to like donate silent auction items or a live auction item to the gala, where we raise the most amount of money we can that we spend on the kids the following year. That happens the first Saturday in November
Okay,
at the Hyatt Hill Country.
so that is locked in at the
That's
height. Okay,
yeah, that's locked in. We've already sold 15 tables. We'll sell out every single year, and we need help setting that day up. It takes about 50 people to put that event together.
yeah.
So that's why I'm saying time, treasure, talent. I mean, there's always room at the table if you for helping in some format. Like the movie theater event, we pass out T-shirts. So it'd be great to have volunteers to, do things like that. Check Kins in. We distribute the popcorn, the Coke, and the sodas, and we don't let the kids do that. We serve them.
Yeah.
So it always takes a village.
Okay, cool. So let's I'm gonna probably want to talk a little bit more about some stuff regarding the nonprofit with the Ferrari Kid. Happiness is a pair of shorts. Um, it's got a forward by Zig Ziglar, and what's cool about I met Zig a few times through my dad. My father was in his Bible study class or
Mm.
Sunday school class. I'm sorry, and he would never miss Zig. I mean, he'd either be out of town or he was like really sick or something. but love Zig Ziglar. It looks like he
Yeah.
had a Ford in this book for you as well. He was a special person. Let's talk about the book. How it looks like it's been around. 35-year cancer survivor is what you basically earmark on this. Talk about this. Let's talk about the book.
Yeah. So, right after high school, I became a professional speaker, a motivational speaker, because groups were asking me, "Man, how do you stay so positive?" And so a bunch of hospitals would hire me to talk to parents, and then I ended up in a speaking engagement where I met Zig Ziglar, who I think is the best speaker in the
Oh
world,
yeah,
and so he became like a dad to me. I was there at his funeral with Les Brown when he
were you really?
passed, and Tom, his son, are good friend. Him and I are good friends, and at that point in his career, he was getting about 300 people a week asking for a forward. And I asked him, and he called me and he said, "Man, I get so many of these, but you know what? For friends, we do things differently." And he did the forward to my book, which opened up a lot of doors. I wrote that book in high school, and
Did you
it's
really?
still impactful today. I've written books past that, but yes, but that's everyone's favorite kind of book. And it was really to give encouragement in the midst of your storm. The original title was "Blessed with Cancer." Like, people couldn't understand how that could be a blessing, and so we changed it to a story in the book where I talk about the day I put shorts on in public, because it took me 3.5 years to do that,
Yeah.
and it just became a point of encouragement. And Zig was a great part of that in the beginning. He was just a great man where I learned so much. So, yeah, I was really lucky to have him do my forward.
I love watching coming across. I mean, social media. I'll run across a handful of Zig
Yeah.
Ziglar's quotes, and it's I mean, when we lost him, is it was kind of when that digital era of those video clips was finally coming around. So it's nice to see some of those old school clips
Yeah.
from him and get a reminder on what he did on the impact. I mean, on everybody's sales career,
It's
if you
so
think
funny
about it.
because 'cause I'll hear someone say something in a seminar, right? And they make it like it's theirs, or, "Grant Cardone said this." I'm like, "No, actually, Zig
Zig
Ziglar did
Ziglar.
that, and Grant Cardone took it after him."
One of the fun. I'll wrap up with the quote from Zig. He said, "Money is not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen."
Oxygen.
So that was one of my favorite ones from Zig. So we've had Manny Diotte from the Ferrari Kid join us here for a few minutes and talk about an exceptional nonprofit that's helping make sure we give a lot of really sick kids a really cool day or multiple days throughout a year
Mm,
with the sponsorship on that. And we want to make sure, if you haven't already, go to ferrarikid.org, look up the Ferrari Kid online, see how you can get involved in helping out this exceptional nonprofit. I'm so excited that we had you as our first
thank
nonprofit
you.
promotion here on the Mad Insurance Show. And that's a reminder, you're listening to the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. I'm your host, Justin Holland, with a handful of guests right now. And we are so thankful, Manny, for you joining us on today's show, giving us the awareness. Thank you for taking care of these kids.
Mm,
Guys like me that are just out here, trying to set the world on fire with businesses. We need those reality checks, and I'm hoping listeners online that are in the same boat that I am in, hey, I need to get out there and help and provide some goodwill and kind of reset, so to speak. So I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing for these kids,
thank you.
what you're doing for the community, and man, we're going to need to have you come back.
Oh, I'd
This
love
was a
to come
great
back.
great
We'll talk
interview,
about more stuff, but there's
Manny.
a lots of great stories.
I thank you so much. Safe travels, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you,
You
Justin.
got it.
Appreciate you.
Hey everyone, Justin Holland here with the Mad Insurance Show. We are so glad that you joined us on the beginning of the show to talk about the Ferrari Kid and what Manny's doing with that organization. Was really glad that he was able to make it by the show. And just as a reminder, ferrarikid.org. Go there, check them out, look them up online, see what you can do to promote and help out these kids that are just didn't get a fair shot. And I think you'll really like what they're doing for these kids here in the community. Now, I had mentioned at the beginning of the show that I had a few other guests that were going to join us, and they're going to join us for the rest of the show as we discuss some articles on what's going on specifically in the health insurance industry, which has kept us pretty busy lately. But I've got Kimberly and Daniel Rodriguez from Coverage to Care. Now, Coverage to Care is a local insurance. Is it considered an FMO, or we've aligned ourselves with them to be able to just have some support and grow our brokerage. And this has been a really challenging time for a lot of agents and brokers in our industry. The small guys that are out there, and even the large ones that are out there, we're just navigating it. And you kind of want to align yourself with some like minded individuals. And I'm real excited what our partnership with Coverage to Care looks like. But I need them to talk about that. I need them to give you an idea on their organization. Kimberly, Daniel, why don't y'all introduce yourselves? Thank you so much for joining the show. Let's dive into what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having us.
You
So,
got it.
my name's Kimberly Rodriguez, and owner owner with Coverage to Care, and we have been around for 10 years. I've been in the industry for 20 years, and Coverage to Care is all about education, giving back. I am born and raised here in San Antonio, and one of my biggest things is being able to provide education, whether it's to an individual consumer looking to shop for coverage or an agent that is looking to grow their business. And we are bilingual, and I think that's so important here in San Antonio. I'll go ahead and let Daniel.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Rodriguez. I joined Coverage to Care. A little bit about my background. I was in marketing right out of college, and that's what I did for a long time. And then I met my soon wife to be, and she was kind of talking all this insurance talk, and I was super confused. I was like, all I know about insurance is that once a year I go and I select what plan I want. That's the extent of my knowledge, and that was back in 2013. And so she starts talking about insurance, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. But in 2015, we decided to open up Coverage to Care together, and so I was in the background doing marketing things, setting up the logo, setting up the business on the side. Kim was out there, setting it up with the how it's going to be organized, the agents, what products we're going to have, what made sense, what didn't make sense.
They've been a pretty good team with y'all. For I think y'all are doing pretty good, which is great. Kim, I want to go back to you real quick. You'd mentioned 10 years coverage of care, but 20 years in the industry.
Mhm.
Give us some background, because I mean, the fact that you've built up this agency and brokerage and helping other people grow theirs as well. I think it's important to know. Hey, were you a part of a carrier operation? What was that background in the insurance prior to that?
Yeah, so I actually used to work for a prominent medical group here in town, and I worked for their marketing department. And then shortly after, I moved over to the carrier side for a couple of years. And from there, I knew I just wanted to go independent. So I went independent, started working on this, opening up my own business. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity because that really gave me an opportunity to see perspectives from the medical group side, from the carrier side. And
That
so
comes in
then,
handy.
yeah, when I came into the independent role, it gave me a chance to see different perspectives as to how all of this really does play a part.
Very cool. So yeah, and that is a strong background, and just one of the reasons, many reasons why we are partnered with Coverage to Care, because they see from the carrier aspect, from the broker aspect, from the providers, that we work with and try to line up or align our valued clients to as well. Let's talk about our clients. Ground floor. What are you guys seeing out there? What are some of the challenges? I've been talking about it quite a bit on the show, but I would love to have another perspective on what your clients are seeing out there, specifically individual, the Medicare or even the individual Affordable Care Act. Can you guys give us some insight on that?
Sure. Sticker shock, I think, is first and foremost, right? Obviously, the other hurdles we've constantly seen is just the lack of knowledge as to how to piece this together. What's true, what's not? Am I landing on solid ground when I am making a decision? There's so many different options out there. So just navigation on its own has always been a struggle, has always been an uphill
I
battle.
agree.
And then the sticker shock is just really adding an additional component of hurdles for the consumer.
I mean, I mentioned while we were kicking off the show, I probably wasn't on the show, but it was while we were visiting prior to the show. Two clients called me and said, "Hey, I just can't afford this anymore, Justin.
Yeah.
Let's look at some options." And the sobering situation on that is a lot of people aren't healthy, and they're not healthy enough to get those alternative options that are out there for other people, and they're stuck, and then they're self insured off of that. Let's talk about what reinforces the work you do, why you're doing it. I think I brought that up, I think, in last week's show or the week before last. My story, why am I in it? Why am I doing it? Because this is a tough industry. to do. Can you give us a little bit of a background or just an idea of what your mission is, what y'all are trying to do?
Uh, what we're trying to do is help people with their insurance, right? In the sense that, there's a lot of products out there, right? If you look at a Medicare client in San Antonio, they have over 130 different options and different pathways they can go into. So our job is to help narrow that down and what makes sense for the client. The reason we do that is because it's so gratifying to help someone and say, "Oh my God, this is too confusing," right? And much like me, 13 years ago, I said once a year I just got to select this plan. I'll just pick the most expensive one because I thought that would give you the best coverage. When you can help someone say, "Hey, that might make sense," or Let's look at a couple alternatives. This might make more sense for you because of X, Y, or Z," right? And to see them and say, "Oh, that does make more sense. I'll be more covered this way." Okay, yeah, okay, let's great. Let's do that then, right? And that's satisfying, right? That's one of those things that money can't buy. That's one of those things that helps you, and you're helping the community as well.
With the amount of individuals y'all are helping, and even in our small brokerage, man, that makes the rubber meet the road. When you have those, and not every client does this, but they're like, "Hey, you really helped me figure this out when I really didn't know where to start," or they were put in a really bad spot, and we were able to make that change and get them out of that. Because I think one of the things that people don't realize is when you have good health insurance in place and you get that bad diagnosis, the really bad news, the cancers, the serious medical emergencies that come up, when you've got great health insurance in place, you got some peace of mind. I think it gives those individuals a little bit more of a shot, mentally, if you think about it, to take on maybe the serious medical stuff that they've got going on. I've seen that personally. I know you guys probably have as well. And man, that really helps, especially with all the craziness that we put up with in the industry.
For sure.
A couple more things that I want to talk about, and then we're going to dive into articles and what's going on out there in the industry. Let's talk about growth plans, new markets, not necessarily products, because I mean, I think we're kind of limited on the products that we've got. Community initiatives, any growth community initiatives, and new markets that you guys are branching off to expand to.
Yeah. So I will say with Coverage to Care right now, we are at 213 agents and counting. We are primarily in San Antonio and 25 additional states, but we're continuously growing. We were actually just in Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Yeah.
where we've gained some traction there as well. We are also out in Montana. I mean, I think really honestly, sky's the limit. And the idea of the traction is not to shy away from working through another state, right? Sometimes there's that concern of not having that local touch. Um, we actually own our own books of business. We have been in this industry. We have created our own pathways for client, from prospect to client, and then retention on the back end.
Mhm.
And so we do really pride ourselves with being able to help an agent or an agency owner following suit with the same thing that has made us successful.
And I've been doing this a while, and I'm learning stuff new every single day with
Mhm.
the events that you bring on, and a lot of times we have to second guess ourselves. There's so much noise out there. It's been nice to with y'all school program, just the question y'all had on that chronic plan. Say, hey,
Mhm.
I'm gonna double check that, and then I'll kind of was like, okay, what? Maybe I was wrong or off, and that has been nice. The community that y'all are creating, New Mexico and Montana, those are good spots. So
Yeah.
that makes it nice to
Nice and cool.
cool to market and grow and build up the brokerage into in y'all's base.
Even locally, though, our
Mhm.
growth is even here locally. We are an exclusive partner for Community First Health Plans,
That's right.
CA. And so I know we're talking to an agency about bringing 300 new agents, right? Just with that product here locally, and that serves San Antonio, right? It serves only Bexar County,
Mhm.
and so that's where I think we're going to see a lot of more explosive growth in the near.
It'll be interesting how these regional plans, whether or stay up and going and persevere. I think they're going to do better than we think,
Hmm.
especially with some of the news that we're going to talk about
Yeah.
here in a minute as well. But everybody, you're listening to the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. I'm your host, Justin Holland. You're listening to us here on KTSA 550, or you're possibly watching us on our YouTube channel. I got to plug the YouTube channel again, youtube.com/at Mad Insurance. and I'm at Insurance Show. I'm sorry. So Google us. You can find us online. If for some reason you're only able to take in a few segments of the show today and want to see what else we were talking about, visit that YouTube channel when you have a moment. As always, I want to promote Texas State Insurance Services. Remember, any questions regarding health insurance, life insurance, your Medicare, individual health, give us a call at 210-880-5316. Palmetto Life Group is another division for the life, long-term care, home and auto, as well as retirement. That phone number is 877-357-5316, or visit us at palmettolifegroup.com. I'm going to have Kimberly and Daniel also give their information during the show. So if maybe you're entertaining this industry, maybe you're in the industry like what we're in, and you're looking to make a change, I would highly recommend reaching out to Kimberly and Daniel, and you'll see the value that we saw with Texas State Insurance Services for that alignment. And you know what? Let's go ahead and do that right now. What's a good number, or do they just go to the website? What's best for people for outreach that might want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so there is the website at coverage2care.com. There's also hello at coverage2care.com's email. And then also our phone number. So you can reach us at 210-361-7096.
Very cool. So just if you got any questions, give them a call. If you didn't catch the number or want to reach out to us as well, you've got the numbers, and I think it shows on the bottom of the screen if you're watching the video as well. So we'll take a look at that. The industry news. This is what I try to do on every show, and a lot of times it's just me discussing it, and then sometimes I'll have some guests like what I have with Kimberly and Daniel, and we're gonna spend the rest of the show basically talking about some of the articles that I've come across, recent articles that I think we need to process and are possibly getting overlooked in the industry. And the first one that I want to kick off is Baylor Scott and White Health Plans exits Texas Medicaid and the marketplace. Just a couple bullet points here, and then Daniel and Kimberly are going to help me kind of process this. Baylor Scott and White will exit Texas Medicaid managed care August 31st of 2026. So that's this year. So this is something that's going to affect quite a few people, quickly or sooner than we typically see, into a following year. They're going to discontinue their ACA market plans at the end of the year, which we typically see when we see individual plans exit. Now, this is just one of them. I'm going to talk about a few of them here on the show. Baylor Scott and White, I don't think has the strongest presence here in San Antonio, but they do have it in other markets like Waco and Dallas. What was y'all's first take on seeing that? I mean, another one bites the dust for me, but but what do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, not another one," right? This one kind of hit a little bit more than a big national company like Aetna that left, this year, just because this is a Texan company, right? This is a company, Baylor Scott and White, that's only in Texas, is super strong, founded here in Central Texas, and so to see that it's going to impact 225,000 people,
Yeah.
Texans, that's a huge deal, right? And so as we look at that, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on here?
I mean, in that 225,000, I'm gonna break it down for the audience real quick. 125,000 of that is Medicaid, and then 100,000 of that is marketplace members. And, collectively, with, whatever 350 million people we have in the United States, 100,000 people is a lot of people, on their individual plans. And that's 125,000 for those Medicaid members, which I still think we haven't seen the disruption there that will parlay into the Affordable Care Act plans. But this exit was triggered by the state's Medicaid procurement division, I'm sorry, decision. Baylor Scott and White was only awarded a limited contract in Lubbock, where it had no hospitals. I mean, that kind of seems a little backwards there. I'm hoping, and there's a lot smarter people, hopefully, than us and the CMS or the Texas guidelines that are making these calls. But I think this is going to disrupt coverage for some good people.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing to mention here is that Baylor Scott& and White is known on a different fold, right? It's not just a hospital system, it's also clinics.
Yeah.
It's, something that they've branded from different types of plan options that they've had in the market, and like you mentioned earlier, it's more so known, up the North Corridor of 35, right? But with that being said, I think this is why, consumers need to be working with a licensed agent.
No question.
I mean, this goes back to navigation and, getting thrown into a pool of over 130 different carriers you're looking at. What are the options and what makes most sense for you? So we're going to look at it from different levels. And I know I can speak for Texas State Insurance and Palmetto Life Group as well that, we are about integrity. We are about helping navigate. And that's what makes the difference here. So just because your plan is leaving does not necessarily mean you don't have options.
No, that's a great point, Kimberly. I think people really need to start doing that now. Right, reaching out, finding an agent now. If you've done it through the marketplace or done it on your own, great, but becoming more complicated where you want somebody that's honed in, has the team, has the tools to help you prepare because this is a significant disruption that's going to hit as soon as August for those Medicare individuals. Which if there's any loss of coverage there, we can create qualifying events that we can help them leverage. But so I don't know how many conversations y'all had. I get them every week. Hey, I need health insurance, Justin. Just give me insurance. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Did
Yeah.
you recently lose coverage? No, but I've got this medical emergency I got to get. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Can't get you coverage on the house once it's already on
Correct. You
fire.
got a burning house here, and we want coverage on it. And then, unfortunately, and it's in prior years, we had ways. There were opportunities where we could actually get them lined in with that, but they're very strict. And I'll tell you, more strict than ever than I've seen
Mhm.
on proof of loss of coverage, proof of wages. To justify that. And we've been submitting information incorrectly, and they're still pushing it back.
Yeah.
So that's been frustrating. If you're listening to the Mad Insurance Show right now, um, talk to an agent. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you, or reach back out to that agent that helped you a while back. And if they're no longer in the business, let us know. But I think that also happens too. I think the consumers, hey, I'm on autopilot. I got this. I'm just going to renew and I'm good. No, you're not good. There's too many changes to neglect off of that. So that segues into Cigna, another carrier leaving the ACA exchanges. Now, we just talked about 100,000 people of the 225 on individual plans. Cigna has 369,000 members impacted. Okay. Again, Cigna's not a big player here for our backyard or our market. However, Dallas and other markets around the country, they were. And this is gonna this is another blow. And just before I get y'all's comment, guys, incoming CEO Brian Evanko cited two reasons: no clear path to meaningful growth in the ACA business, and a desire to redirect resources, core platforms like pharmacy benefits and employer coverage. I want to piggyback off of that comment from the Cigna CEO. Now, the other challenge is they're saying, okay, we're going to go pharmacy benefits and employer coverage. Well, employer coverage is taking a beating too. Okay. And Cigna typically does the larger companies on the employee benefits. But if they're having high claims and they're getting rocked, that could affect their Medicare plans through HealthSpring or whatever
Mhm.
subsidiaries that they have. Um, Curious, y'all's take on the Cigna exit.
It's kind of funny to hear a CEO say that, right? When you think of well developed, well good business models for any company, they're diversified, right? So when we're looking at the insurance world, you have Medicare, you have ACA, you have employer group, right? Because just with like anything, the market can shift things, right? So seeing Cigna last year, they sold all their business to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then seeing them this year saying, well, the ACA is not viable, right? Moving forward, is a little scary to say. Well, they're putting all their eggs in one basket, right? Employer groups and pharmacy benefit. Well, like you said earlier, employer groups is only getting more expensive. I had
Yep.
companies go up 48% this last year of their monthly premiums. So you know I don't know what their plan is, but they're not being very well diversified, and so that's a little scary, but not uncommon to see them. Like I said, leaving the Medicare business now, leaving the ACA business. I think they're just putting all their eggs in one basket, and I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
And something that I'll add to that as well is, you know, you're absolutely right. CEO of Cigna saying, "Hey, diversification is what we're going to try to do here." Well, that ACA could make a rebound.
Mhm.
If they do some legislation on ICRAs, and if the audience that you're listening to right now doesn't know what an ICRA is, an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. And I think the jury's still out on that right now, but I have a feeling it's going to come really into play and could be a major factor if there's some legislation that affects that. And that will bring back a stronger ACA market. Maybe not subsidize unless they tweak that on how an ICRA arrangement can be for ACA versus off exchange plans. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
topic to talk about. But where I'm going with this is I think some of these carriers could have stuck it out a little bit and then possibly be there to reap some of the benefits on ICRA coming. Now, ICRA might not stick the landing and it might not come to fruition, but we are talking to more and more of my groups on ICRA situations. The only problem is we're limited on the carriers
Yeah.
because we just talked about Cigna leaving. Before that, we talked about Baylor Scott and White leaving or exiting the ACA markets. Prior to that, it was Aetna
Hmm.
in 2025, and then even Molina had ACA plans that they exited out of
Yeah.
as well for this year,
Yeah.
going into 2026. That just leaves a handful of carriers, and we'll see how they weather out. So we will be eating our Wheaties as agent brokers this fall, preparing for what we've got to work with. So I thought it was important to talk about the carrier exits. You could be listening to the show and be on a Cigna plan that's exiting the individual market, or a Baylor Scott and White, or you're still upset about losing your Molina or Aetna individual health insurance. We've got some alternatives that you probably want to look at. And it's maybe not necessarily health insurance, it could be health coverage. And make no mistake, there is a difference between the two. And then we can absolutely relay that to you as well. So, um, I work with a handful of employee benefits clients, and actually more than a handful. But we I pride myself, guys, on hey ACA, Medicare, individual coverage, how it relates to employee benefits, as well as all the other products that we offer. But we are noticing, and this is an article from the Bloomberg Boston Globe, April 29th of 26. Young, healthy workers are increasingly waiving employer-sponsored insurance, opting for cheaper alternatives or going uninsured altogether. That is a scary situation.
For sure.
And the one example that they provide here, a 33-year-old nurse in Buffalo was paying $585 every 2 weeks, $15,000 a year for family coverage, and chose to waive it to self-fund instead. I get it. I understand. I get these phone calls every single week with clients that are they're trying to figure this out, and we don't have necessarily we have solutions, but sometimes those solutions aren't the best option for them as well. So that's a challenge for us. Let's talk about what you guys are seeing on people leaving their health insurance plans, maybe not necessarily knowing that the family glitch situation could have benefited them as well. I think still group benefits brokers don't talk about that family glitch. Say, hey,
Yeah.
you can stay on that company plan, and there's a good chance on your collective income that we can get the spouse and children, or at least the children, on a marketplace plan and keep those costs in check. Any comment on that?
I think, it's goes back to just having the professional in your corner, right?
Yeah,
It's all about navigation. It's about being able to bring up those things that you just mentioned. And so a lot of our conversations with these clients start with hypotheticals, right? So we can bring these out for them, and mention different pathways or avenues. I mean, we are even seeing some of these alternatives to be like urgent cares that are coming up with their own memberships, right?
yeah,
Kind of parting off from what we've seen through concierge doctors. And not to say that that's good or not good, but it is a conversation that needs to be had, right? What is it that you're looking to do, and who are you looking to cover? And how can we piece that together to make sense for your individual family? We look at both the financial and the medical need behind this. And so we were talking earlier before the segment that cash is king, right? And
yeah,
so when you're talking about the type of services that you need, it's about piecing something together. So whether that is a part of the Affordable Care Act or your Medicare plan, but then looking beyond that. And I think that's where a lot of agents are missing the boat. And this conversation needs to be had that remember, those insurance policies that you're purchasing, That's to help safeguard that these doctors and the hospitals are getting paid. What's safeguarding you and your savings?
That's a great point. No, that's a great point. And I'm the Medicare segment of the business. I mean, in some cases, it makes sense to possibly not get a medication through a PDP
Hmm.
plan
Mhm.
and just get it discounted through the local pharmacy or whatever discount arrangement they can create.
And if I can add to that, just mentioning the medication side of things, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and since January of 2025, with that coming into play, these employer group plans don't have that maximum set up, right? There's only one carrier in Texas that I've heard that even has something similar to that.
Yeah,
And I don't know how successful that is going to be or not be, but when you're talking to a consumer that's still employed, coming to 65, and can potentially be on to a Medicare plan, what do your medications look like? What does that spread? How much are you paying through that employer group?
and getting a complete analysis of
Yeah,
that as well.
And what I'm seeing is, whether on the employer side is mostly like, hey, these premiums are too high for my family. What are my options, right? So we talk about HSA, high deductible plans, things of that nature that they could do. But now starting to incorporate, well, yeah, Daniel, that sounds great, right? But now I have a $3,000, that I have to pay
deductible.
first. And what do I do if I go into the hospital, right? Well, that's where we start introducing like hospital indemnity plans, things of that nature to protect that client moving forward with an HSA policy. Things like that we can kind of talk, but like Kim said, if you're talking to a professional, you're not going to get this on the internet when you're just selecting your plan. They're
Correct.
like, hey, you might want to look at this option. Well, yeah, that would protect me from the $3,000 if I go in, right? Kind of things like that.
I think that'll be critical in this coming fall.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And we're putting things in place just for us to make sure we're going to have a full scale menu. We're going to utilize AI as much as we can to streamline that because I think there's going to be more disruption this fall than we thought we were going to see before.
Yeah.
Coming up. That segues me into, and we're running out of time, but the Medicare Advantage plans may cut extra benefits in 2027. This is a Reuters article, May 1st of 2026. Half of the 70 million people on Medicare are enrolled in Medicare Advantage. Okay. For both of us, that is a big piece of our model and our business attracted partly by the supplemental benefits like dental, vision, hearing, gym memberships, meals, transportation, gift card. I mean, there was the list goes on and all that. I think we wrap up over the next few minutes on talking about, hey, you need to anticipate some changes coming.
For
Okay. I
sure.
don't care who you're with, what carrier, you need to start talking or reaching out to an agent now and just making sure you're proactive because there's going to be a point where that good agent or that broker is going to be too busy to be able to help you and you want to engage us as soon as possible. Would y'all agree with that?
Absolutely. And if I can mention, I will say that Josh Slattery, the
Yes.
senior executive VP of our national
Good guy.
agency, the brokerage Inc., I think he said it best. And that is that during COVID, there was a lot of people that were not getting these surgeries done, right? So there was some excess of money to be had that in turn, you started to see these carriers to offer things like the high grocery cards or the value adds on the dental, vision, and hearing. And now that COVID is over and people are now starting to get those surgeries and things are starting to level off, that's where consumers are seeing these sticker shocks. But in reality, it's kind of just like it was in the housing market, where we were seeing 2 or 3% during COVID.
Yeah.
And when it came back to 6, 7, 8%, people are
It
freaking out.
slingshotted back around.
Yeah. But really, what we're going to come in to start seeing is really just leveling out back to the norm.
Yeah.
It's just now getting the consumer back up to speed to realizing that that's where we really are headed.
And I want to make sure that the consumers know that are listening to the show. You want to sit down, you want to be taking a size up what you've got now, and then just be in a good spot this fall to where you can really make a concise, probably a pretty quick decision once we have an idea of what 2027 will look like. But yeah, I mean, those benefits are shrinking. I think a lot of people got sold onto plans. I see it all the time. They got on one plan, not realizing their deductible or maximum catastrophic was going to go up and
Yeah.
they lost a benefit. There's just so much noise out there that we have to counter as agent brokers as well. That makes it a little exhausting off of that. But I wanted us to touch on that and the importance of getting that done. I was going to talk about a political segment on here. You know, Republicans push high deductible ACA plans and HSA expansion and subsidies. I'm going to postpone the review of that. I think it's important to talk about, but I kind of want to dive in a little bit more because I love calling people out both sides of the aisle. And so stay tuned for next week. We'll probably hit that up on the following show. But that was a Politico article that I wanted to bring up. But we're going to close out the show today. Again, you're listening to or have been listening to the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. We had a great guest host with the first nonprofit on the highlight for this show. It was Manny Diotte of the Ferrari Kid. We had Coverage to Care, Kimberly and Daniel Rodriguez come in, trusted partners that we have in this business and industry, just to kind of volley back and forth on some of the challenges, articles, and key points and topics that you as the consumer need to know and be aware of. And that's what we're trying to do is provide that value for y'all. If you have any questions regarding the show, missed a segment, or just to have a general question, 210-880-5316 is our direct office line number. If you miss us, we'll just leave a message. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. But we typically have Lydia there, manning the phones, to be able to help you out. But thank you again, everybody, for joining us on the Mad Insurance Show. Kimberly, Daniel, thank you again.
Thank you.
And take care. Have a great weekend, everybody.